Hi everyone. I'm just cleaning my specs. Hi everyone, how are you all? Good to see you all of you back, right? And of course, we are back with an amazing session. Yes? But today is special because on your request, we'll be starting with the 8th class bio. So, how are you all? I'm sure you all are excited, right? Yes. Can we have the chat? Nagarjun, thank you. Yes. So it's amazing, right? Finally, we are starting with the class 8th, and of course, we're starting with a very interesting chapter. We have the cell chapter, right? The building blocks of life. It's a very interesting chapter. Yes, what do you think about this particular chapter? You like this chapter? It's a very easy chapter or it's a very difficult chapter? What is it? Yes, yes, yes. Please tell me. Yes? We'll wait for just for 1 minute and then we'll start our session. Yes? Great. Please write your answers. How are you feeling today? Yes. I still can't see the chat. Ta-da! Yes. Great. Please write, right? Yeah, now I can see. Yes. Thank you, Nagarjun. Thank you so much. Yes, without the tech team, right, we are nothing. So, thank you. Yes, hi everyone. So, I can see Pratyush, Pepia, Anishita, then Shivansh, we have Siddharth, we have Pritesh, Crazy Mind, Aditi, Chitra. We have, education point for kids. We have we have a good amount of students with us. Great. Welcome everyone. Now I can see your chat and I can see a lot of easy peasy. And I can see east or west. Byju's is best. Yes. Awesome. Great. So let's start, right? Very quickly we'll be starting our today's class. And you know what? Today we have something really very interesting. Now, this is something really we are going to, discuss in today's class. Today it's a word of technology, right? And so we'll be using that in today's class. Yes? Okay. On that note, let's start everyone. Hi everyone. Good evening, right? So let's start with the cell chapter. So of course when we talk about the cell, of course we have this image, right? I'm sure that the first image that we have in our mind. Okay. What is it? Oh, it's a bacteria, right? Yes? So we have this particular image when we talk about the cell. Whenever, if someone will ask you cell, the one, for me especially, when someone will talk about cell, so this is the image that comes to my mind. Apart from that, when I was a kid, I always think about this, amoeba. Whenever again, if someone says, okay, the organisms, right, the first organism or something like that will come, back then, I used to think about this particular irregular structure. Yes? Right? And of course, as we know that we have different types of organisms all along. Now we have a bacteria over here and amoeba. Then of course we have these cute little mushrooms, right? Of course, right? They're the fungi. Yes? And of course, then from there, we have beautiful plants altogether. Yes, and then of course we have different types of animals, and over here we can see a cute cat, right? Though I'm a dog person, the cats are also cute. Yes? So, if I ask you what is the common thing between these? So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of organism altogether. And if I ask you what is the one common thing between these, what you will say? B for brilliant and B for biology. Yes, for bio. Bio and of course then Byju's. Yes? Yes, they all have cells. Very good everyone. Very good. These all are the living organisms and of course they all are, right? Of course they are all from different categories and of course definitely the common thing between these is that they all are made up of cells. These are living organisms and they are made up of cells. What a common point between these two, right? So we know that cells are the building block of the life and cells are the structural and functional unit of life. They're the basic structure and the functional unit of life. That's a very common question asked in the examination, right? What is a cell? And you'll be writing them. They are the basic structure and the functional unit of life and here we go. Right? So we have the definition of a cell, and now we know that cell. Now in today's class that I was telling you, right, there are two special things. One, of course, it will be a surprise. We'll be discussing after some time. But before that, the other thing is that we'll be learning with the help of the mind maps. So in the class, you don't have to note down as of now. If you want to, you can. But you can actually take the whole screenshot once we have the whole mind map of the chapter. It will be easy for you to revise the chapter and summarize the chapter once you have your exam, right? Yes, please, Siddharth, write your doubt. Hi, Harris. Yes, please, Siddharth, you can write your doubt. Yes, we will be going to the term 2 also, right? We will be quickly going to that, but we're just discussing from the first, right? Yes, okay. Yes, I can see your chat, Papia. I can see the cell and the football that you are making. Fundamental. Yeah, very interesting question, right? What fundamental? The one basic thing, everything have a fundamental principle. The basic, right? So we have it. So that I think I hope I have answered your question. Yes, we'll be discussing about the virus also, right? So let's move ahead, right? Let's move ahead and let's talk about the discovery of the cell. Now, I can see the answers. I think a few of you have already written that. Robert Hooke was the first person who actually discovered the cell, right? So it was a very interesting story behind it. He was just looking at the bark of, the bark of this plant, right? Of course, it's dead. So he actually observed like this. So he actually saw that there are honeycomb-shaped like structures, and they look like a small prison in which, the prisoners will be kept. So of course, he called them as the cells. So interesting, right? Important thing for all of us to remember is about the name of the scientist, right? Robert Hooke. He discovered the, the cell in the year 1665. Again, the year is important for us, right? Then of course, he observed on a slice of a cork, right? With the help of using a simple magnifying device. Very interesting. Then of course, he observed the honeycomb-like structure, and of course, he called them as the cells. So we have the understanding that which was what is scientist and who discovered the cell, and of course in which year and what he actually saw. Yes, Harris, you're talking about the tumor, right? So the tumor particle is not very connected to the cell chapter. I'll just briefly explain you. Then basically, if the cells are dividing uncontrollably, we call them, they will be forming the tumor, right? Yes. Yes, Charu, they are the structural basic unit of the living organisms only. In non-living organisms, do we have cells, right? We don't have. So, yes. Right? Very good. Yes, at the heart. Back then, the scientists were using this magnifying lenses, right? So, they used to look through them. We will be discussing about that, Gauri. We will be discussing about that, right? Types of microscope, we have simple and the compound. Right? For the 8th standard, we don't have that much in detail, but these are the two major ones that we usually use. Of course, with the help of technology, we have the greater versions altogether. Awesome. Yeah. So moving ahead, we have the cell, the discovery. Let's talk about the components of the cell. When we talk about the components of a cell, there are 3 important components of the cell that are mentioned in our textbook, right? We have the cell membrane. Then we have the cytoplasm and the nucleus. Over here you can see the nucleus, cytoplasm and the cell membrane. We'll be discussing about each one of them. Yes, fruits also have cells. Very good. Anshita, yes. Very good. Okay. Papia, I saw your question. I've answered it. Yes. So over here, let's discuss about the cell membrane. So cell membrane basically help the cells, right? There's a separation. Over here, as you can see, from the outside to the inside, of course, it acts as a separation, right? So, it separates the cells from one another and also from the surrounding medium. So, that's a very important role of the cell membrane. I hope that all of you are, you are noting down all the important points that we are discussing. So, over here, we are discussing about the cell membrane. Now, when we look at the structure of the cell membrane, see over here how beautiful it is, right? And it is also called as the plasma membrane. When we look at the structure of the plasma membrane, as you can see over here, There are two layers, right? There are two layers we can see clearly. And basically the structure is separating the cell inside material from the outside. Interesting, right? And apart from that, cell membrane help in the exchange of various material. So, molecules which are really important for the cell, they'll be able to easily move from outside to inside, and the molecules will be moving from inside to outside also. Yes? Right? So, over here we have the cell membrane, right? Now, cell membrane over here. Are we clear with cell membrane? And a cell membrane is semi-permeable. That means that it will allow the entry of few important molecules only, and not all the molecules can easily move inside the cell membrane. Are we clear with that? Yes. 5-star class, I don't know. Okay, are we clear? Thank you, Harvis. Thank you so much. The molecules will be moving by the simple process, right? Awesome. They'll be moving from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. Very easy, right? We don't have that in the 8th standard. You'll be learning that in the higher classes. Great. So over here we have just discussed about the cell membrane, right? Of course, it actually helps in separating the cells from other cells and from the outside environment also. Yes? Then let's move to the next important part. We have the cell wall, and cell wall over here. Now cell wall is the outermost covering in the plant cells, and of course it's really very rigid. This is a very important point that we have to remember about the cell wall. First, it's the outermost layer, right? Inside it we have the cell membrane in plant cells, and cell wall is only present in the plant cells and not in the animal cells. And the second point about the cell wall is that it's really very rigid. Yes? Yes, Tushar, you can write your doubt over there. Very good, Himani. Very good. Yes, Yug, they are. Human cells are semi-permeable, right? We have, right? As the cell membrane is the outermost membrane, it helps in the exchange of the different materials altogether. Anzar will be discussing about the cytoplasm, so just wait for some time. Very good. Janvi, you can write your doubt over here. Very good, very good. Absolutely correct, Gauri. Very good. Very good. Nivrati, yes, cell wall is made up of cellulose. Very good. You guys have already the great information. So, Siddharth and Janvi, instead of writing that you have a doubt, you can write your questions over there and I'll be able to answer them. Anil, same goes for you. You can write your questions. Great. So, we are discussing about the cell wall, and the important thing about the cell wall is that this is an additional layer, right, of course, along with the cell membrane that is required for the plants, for its protection. It's really very rigid, right? And over here, we have some of the important functions of the cell wall. So, plants need the protection against the various things, and cell wall actually help in them, right? The plants require the protection against the variation in the temperature, high wind speed, and the atmospheric moisture. In that, cell walls plays a very important role. The cell wall is very rigid, so it gives the strength also, right, to the cells. So that's all about the cell wall, and that's the cell wall and the cell membrane. Now, as many of you are asking, we'll be discussing about the cytoplasm, right? And once we have the cytoplasm, then we easily can differentiate between the cytoplasm and the cell wall. So over here, yes, so over here we have the cytoplasm. Now what is cytoplasm? It's a jelly-like substance that is present between the cell membrane and the nucleus. So over here in the cytoplasm, we'll have all the different types of cell organelles floating into it, right? So when we talk about the cytoplasm, we usually call it as a jelly-like substance. Remember this, everyone, okay? About the cytoplasm. Now, cytoplasm have different compositions of different molecules altogether, right? You will be learning about that in your higher classes, Pritesh. Yes, are we clear with this? Very good, Pratyush. Yes, great. Yes, Janvi. Awesome. So I hope that you are clear with the cytoplasm. Another important point about the cytoplasm is that various different cell organelles that are present are there in the cytoplasm. So they're just floating. Interesting, right? So, Anzar, If I ask you the difference between the cytoplasm and the cell wall, I'm sure you'll be able to, right? We know that cytoplasm is this jelly-like substance, whereas the cell wall is an outer covering that we have in the plant cells. It provides a protection to the plant cells. Very good. Now we are done with the cytoplasm, right? And now we'll be discussing about the cell organelles, right? And in that we'll be discussing about the brain of the cell, right? A very important brain of the cell. We will be discussing about the nucleus. So what do you think is a function of nucleus? Yeah, you can write in the chat box. What do you think is a function of the nucleus? Right over here. Nucleus, right? We call the brain of the cell. Yes? Cell wall is made up of the cellulose, right? It's one of the important components. Majority of the components is the cellulose, and we have other different components like pectin, hemicellulose. You'll be learning about that in your higher classes. I'll be saying a lot of it because in 8th standard we have important, basic and really very easy information. We'll be building upon it in the class 9th. Yes? Yeah, very good. It's the headquarter of the cell, right? It controls the various activity in the cell. It consists of the genetic material. Very interesting answers. Hero of the cell or the king? Yes, absolutely correct. So we'll be discussing about the nucleus, right? So we have different organelles altogether, as you can see. We'll be focusing on the nucleus first. Of course, nucleus is there in both the plant cells and the animal cells. So now let's discuss about the nucleus. Now we call nucleus as the control center or the brain of the cell because it controls various activity, or we can say all the activity that is happening inside a cell. So if you look at the structure of a cell over here, the nucleus, right? If you look at the structure of the nucleus, we'll have the nuclear membrane, that is an outer membrane. Inside that, we have the genetic material and all of the important components, right? So nucleus is separated from the cytoplasm by a membrane. Of course, the name of this membrane is the nuclear membrane. Are we clear with this? Yes, very good. Harvis, you're talking about the tissues, very good. Right, are we clear with this? Right? So, of course, we have the nuclear membrane. Then, of course, apart from the nuclear membrane, when we discuss in detail, this membrane is porous, right? It has these pores, as we can see. From these pores, the molecules will move in and the molecules will move out. This is really very important. So, nuclear membrane is just like a plasma membrane, right? It will allow the entry of the molecules with the help of these pores. It has a lot of pores from the cytoplasm and to the inside of the nucleus. Yes? Very good. Then apart from that, if we talk about a very important structure, as you all are writing over here, we have the nucleolus, right? Now it is there in the center of the cell, and this actually helps in the synthesis of protein, right? It actually helps in the synthesis of the ribosomes that actually help in the synthesis of protein. So we can say that, what is the role of nucleolus? It helps in the synthesis of protein by the formation of ribosomes. Then of course, we have the important thing. We have the chromosomes, right? In the nucleus over here, we have these amazing thread-like structures called as chromosome. Yes, everyone? You can see over here the chromosomes. Pritesh, chromosomes are present inside the nucleus. Yes? Omar, you can stop spamming over here. I don't know. So, yeah. Yes? Right? So, inside the nucleus, we have these beautiful, amazing, cute little structures. They are chromosomes. And when we talk about the chromosomes, right, over here we have. Now, the chromosomes are very condensed form, right? If we open them up, we can see this is how the chromosomes are packed. Now, we have the DNA, right? And DNA is wrapped around the protein. These are the proteins, right? And they will be forming this amazing structure. So, it will be getting more coil. The structure will be forming coil and coil structure. And then, of course, we'll have the chromosome. So, when we open up the chromosome, at the end, we'll be able to see the DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. And this is the genetic material, right? All the information that we have, how our hairs will look, how our eye color, everything will be there in these DNA, right? Yes, these balls-like structure that we see over here are the protein, and onto which we'll see the DNA will be getting wrapped. So the chromosomes, of course, can be seen during the cell division, right? And of course, they are the hereditary vehicle. Yes. Right, so we have discussed about the DNA, and when we talk about the DNA, the small fragment of a DNA that contains the information about one specific thing, maybe the hair color or the eye color, we call it as a gene, right over here. So gene is a small segment of the DNA which codes for the expression of a specific character that we have. And we have this example like hair color and the hair texture, right? And we get these genes from our parents. So I'm sure if you go to if you go to your school, I'm sure you must have heard your teacher saying that, oh, you look like your mother. Oh, you look like your father. You have your nose of your grandfather also. So all of these characteristics are being passed on from one generation to the next generation. Very good, Prashannans. Yes, 46 chromosomes we have in the human body. Very good. 23 pair of chromosomes. Very good. Himani, the difference between the DNA and the gene is that DNA is the genetic material. It's really very huge. Onto the DNA, sorry. If we have this big DNA, right, the small fragment, the very small segment, right, that will be coding for the different particular character, we call it as a gene. Yes? Very good, Papia. Absolutely correct. Yes? Are we clear? Everyone, I want to see a smiley in the chat box. Those of you who are, those of you who are spamming, please don't spam. I want to see a chain of smiley over here so that we know that we are on the same page. Not getting distracted anywhere. Here we are. So we have discussed about the amazing structurized cell organelles. We discussed about the cell membrane, cell wall, nucleus and the cytoplasm. Now it's time for us to quickly solve a question. Now you have to answer this interesting question, right? The part which is found in plant cells but not in animal cells is among these. So in plant cells we have some of the important parts, and in animal cells, which of these is present in the plant cells and not in the animal cells? Plasma membrane, cell wall, nucleus and the DNA? Yes, very good. I can see a lot of correct answer over here. Option number B is absolutely correct. Cell wall is present only in the plant cells and not in the animal cells. Very good. That means that all of you are paying attention to this particular session, right? Very good. Kudos, claps for each one of us. Very good. We don't have Menti today, but we have something really very special, right? Now that we are clear with this particular question, yes. So Swara is asking what is the difference between a chromosome and a DNA. So a chromosome, of course, is a very condensed form, right? So we have this DNA, right? When this DNA will coil itself, right? When it coil itself, it will be forming the structure which is the chromosome. Okay, that's a major difference between, right? Very good. We'll be able to see the chromosomes during the cell division. DNA is the deoxyribonucleic acid. Very good. Papia, you have the hint with you. Yes. Now, if you talk about what we have discussed as of now, we have discussed about the different cell organelles, right? In the plants and in the animal cells, we have discussed about the, the nucleus, vacuole. We discussed about the cell membrane also. And then, of course, in the plant cells, we have discussed about the nucleus, cell wall. Now we'll be discussing about the vacuole. Now, very of the important cell organelle that we have is vacuole. Now, vacuole is the very important organelle that actually help in the storage of the nutrient and water. So it's a basically a storage bag which is there inside the cell itself. Yes, and large vacuoles are present in the plant cells, whereas in animal cells will have small vacuoles. But in the animal cells will have more number of the vacuoles as compared to the plant cells. Plant cells will have a large vacuole but a single one. Yes? We will be discussing about that, Siddharth. We'll be discussing about that. Just wait for some time. Smallest cell. You have to find out, Gauri. It's a very easy answer. Smallest cell in our human body if you're talking about. Yes. Very good. So, now we have discussed about the vacuole. Now we'll be discussing about the chloroplast which is there in the plant cells. Now, I want all of you to pay attention over here because this organelle is really very special. So, we have the plastids, right? So in plant cells, we have different types of plastids, right? There are few plastids which gives beautiful bright colors to flowers, right? Like bright colors we have to fruits, flowers. So we have plastids which have the colored pigment, and then we have the plastids that give the whitish appearance to roots, right? And then we have the chloroplast, right, which contain a green color pigment which is called as the chlorophyll, and of course this helps in the process of photosynthesis. There's no definition of vacuole, right? There's no definition of the vacuole. Yes, so we are discussing about the chloroplast, right? And of course they're a very important structure. They contain the green color pigment which is the chlorophyll, and because of that plants can actually easily perform the photosynthesis. We know that photosynthesis process is really very important for the plants because they can make their own food. Yes, over here we can see various different structures that we don't have in 8th class, but definitely you'll be learning that in the 9th class. Very good. Yes. Amazing. So we are clear with this, right? Now let's move ahead and let's discuss about the other important organelle, right? So in animal cells we don't have the chloroplast. In plant cells we have the chloroplast, right? Now you can take a screenshot of this, right? You were discussing about the eukaryotes and prokaryotes, right? You were asking, ma'am, why, what are eukaryotes and prokaryotes? So let's quickly discuss about them. So we'll be discussing about the different types of cells, right? So we have cells that have their nuclear material freely suspended in the cells, right? It's not enclosed. We call them as the prokaryotic cells. Bacteria are in this particular categories. Very good, Vishnu. Yes, right? Prokaryotes lack the nucleus. Very good. Cells get the energy from, right? They make their energy with, in the very important organelle which is mitochondria. Yes? So in the organelle mitochondria, they'll be making the, they'll be utilizing the food, and of course ATP is produced there. Right, so over here we have the prokaryotic cells, and then we have the eukaryotic cells. Now in eukaryotic cells, we can see the nucleus genetic material is present inside the nucleus, right? So over here we have the eukaryotic cells. So Dharth was asking, ma'am, what are eukaryotes? So over here we have the eukaryotic cells, right? Now you and I, animals, plants, right? They are the eukaryotic cells. They have the genetic material inside the nucleus. That's a major difference between the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes, right? Very good. Undefined nucleus we have in the prokaryotes, and we have the defined nucleus in the eukaryotes. Very good. Right. Now let's move ahead. So we can divide these types into two types. We have prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. Now it's time for us to go ahead and try something really very interesting, right? I was telling you we'll be having something really very special, right? So we'll be discussing about some interesting ways to learn something. Yes, Kanika, please write your doubt. You can write your doubt here. Yes? So let me take you, right? Let me just change it and we will be discussing about it. So let me give me a moment. Yes. So we have set it ready, right? And we'll go into the magic mode, right? Here we have. So over here, as few of you have already mentioned, right? ILEs will be this is a very interactive, amazing thing we have, right? You should definitely try, and we are trying in our live classes. Yes, prokaryotes have genetic material, but it is not enclosed in the nucleus. It is freely suspended in the cytoplasm. Yes, Anshita, please write your question. Yoga, have answered your question. Then, very good, Himani. Yes, now let's try this. Now, we'll be starting with it. Here. So, we have a very interesting thing, right? I'm sure you can hear something. But if you can't, don't worry, I'll just say. So we have Ria, right, who have prepared the two glass slides, and we have to observe the given cells under the high power microscope by tapping on them, right? Interactive element, yes, absolutely correct. Yes, so which one you want me to try first, cheek cell or the onion cell? One is an animal cell and one is a plant cell. Come on, come on. I want to see. I want you to write. Okay, I can see. Cheek cell, right? I can see that's a wide majority, right? Okay, cheek cell. We'll be trying with the cheek cell first. Here we have the cheek cell. Yes? And what is the cheek cell? Of course, it's the animal cell. It has cell membrane, cytoplasm, and the nucleus, right? Animal cell, right? So these are the important components that we have just studied. And then if you move to the onion cell, it's a plant cells, and they have the important components like nucleus, cytoplasm, cell wall, and the cell membrane. Yes? Yes. So first we have discussed about the cheek cell and of course then about the onion cell. And let me move ahead to the question. Now can you answer this particular question? The question is, which of the following organism has the cells shown in the figure? So we have in the options, right, we have human, cactus and deer. Where we'll be seeing this particular cell? Which is cytoplasm, nucleus, cell wall and the cell membrane. Yes? Oh, I can see the correct answer. Absolutely correct. It's the deer, right? Interesting. Yes. So this is how we have these amazing interactive elements in our classes, and I hope that you enjoy. Over here we have learnt, right, that plant cells are the one that will be having the cell wall. Awesome. Now let's go back to the session, right, where we were discussing about amazing and important things, right? So we are back, right, and we'll be moving ahead with the important part. So till now, if we talk about, we have discussed about the plant cells and the animal cells. We have discussed about the different organelles that are present, right? We talked about nucleus, cytoplasm, right, cell wall, cell membrane, and of course we have discussed about the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cells. Yes. So now let's quickly talk about the animal cells. Now I can see many of you were asking about the different organelles. So here we have a very quick recap. I want all of you to look over here. Oh, plastid will not be helping the animal cells. Plastids are the pigment, right, that actually help in absorbing the light. Very important thing. So the animal cells will not be doing much. Animal cells will not be having them. Smallest unit inside. Gauri, it's a very tricky question. We have ribosomes that are really very tiny. Yes, you could find out the answer and do share with us. Very good. I can see the Kavita have already answered ribosomes, right? They actually help with the protein synthesis. Right? Anil, we have just discussed about the difference between, right, the plant cells will have cell wall, whereas the human cell, which is an animal cell, will not have. They'll not have the plastids also. Very good. So over here we have an animal cell and we know what nucleus is. It's the center of the cell, brain of the cell. It performs various activities. It contains the genetic information. Then we have the cell membrane that actually separate out the outer material from the inside, right? We have the ER, endoplasmic reticulum, that actually help in the synthesis of protein and lipids. Vacuole, which will be storing a lot of amazing nutrient. We have mitochondria, right? I think Siddharth was asking about mitochondria. So mitochondria is a very important organelle which we have in the cell that actually help in the synthesis of ATP, which is the energy molecule. It gives the energy to the cell, right? And then of course we have the Golgi apparatus or the Golgi bodies, we say. They will be helping in the packaging and modification of the proteins, and they'll be helping in the transfer of it to the different parts of the cell. Yes, Umar, please write your question. Don't cry, write your question. Very good. Nikita, very good. Yes, powerhouse of the cells. Plastids are the organelles that are present in the plant cells, right over here when we talk about the plant cells. So plant cells have the plastids, right, and there are different types of plastids and they have a different colored pigment that actually provide the different things, right. So we have green color pigment which is there in the chloroplast, which actually help in the photosynthesis process. Then we have beautiful pigments that gives the beautiful colors to the fruits and the flowers, right? Yes? Aryan, I have answered your question. Yes. Janvi, you can write your question. What do cell eat? So cell basically take up various molecules, right? Like glucose they take up, and then from there they make their energy, their food basically. Yes, very good. So over here we have the plant cells which have nucleus, cell membrane, endoplasmic reticulum, vacuole, mitochondria, and the Golgi apparatus. Apart from that, they have this beautiful chloroplast, right, which actually help in the synthesis of food, photosynthesis process. So over here, when we talk about eukaryotic cells, we have animal cell and the plant cells. So let's discuss about it. I'm sure you were asking about that, right? We have just discussed it. Now, moving ahead, we have the different classification of organism based upon the number of the cell, right? So we have single cell organism, which we call it the unicellular organism, that just made up of one cell. Amoeba is an example of it. Anil, the full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Yes? Now, you tell me one of the important unicellular organism. Yes? Yeah, please write the answers. Very good, Yug, very good. Siddharth, you can write your doubt. Amoeba, bacteria, very good, yes. Yes, I can see the answers, right? So we have a unicellular organisms, and these unicellular organisms can perform all the functions by themselves, right? They are capable of performing the process of digestion, respiration, right, excretion. So they are just single cell organism and they'll be performing all the important functions. And then of course we have these amazing multicellular organisms like us, right, and of course like elephant. Now they are made up of more than one cells, right, and we call them as multicellular, and they will be performing various functions altogether, right. And of course these cells will be coming up together forming the tissues will be forming the organ and organ systems, and that's how we'll see various function happening. So when we talk about it, cells, when they come together, will be forming the tissues, right. I'm sure one of you was explaining about this, right. So cells will be coming together and forming the tissues. Same type of cells can also come together, and different types of cells can also come together and form the tissues. Then of course we have the organs. Tissues will be forming the organs, then we have the organs will be coming together and forming the whole organ system like digestive system, respiratory system, or the circulatory system. And of course then we have a whole organism. Now that's the important thing, please remember this. Then a very important point, we were discussing about the shape, right? Different types of shapes, right? Also over here we have the different types of shapes. So we have a neuron which have a very different shape altogether, right? It has very long branch. Of course, it's help in the conduction of the nerve impulse through from one part of the body to another part. We have RBCs, right? They have bioconcave and they actually help in carrying the oxygen. And then of course we have the muscle cells which are spindle. They help in the movement. I can do this because of this. You know, we have those muscle cells. Anil, egg isn't also a cell. Interesting question. What do you think? What is the difference between smooth and the rough? Umar question. Yes. So the difference between the smooth ER and the rough ER is that on smooth ER, ribosomes are not present, and smooth ER helps in the synthesis of lipids. Whereas rough ER have the ribosomes on them and they help in the synthesis of protein. So Umar, your question is answered. Very good, Yug. Ostrich egg is the largest egg. Yes, largest cell. Yes. Difference between the cell and atom. So cell of course is the basic structure and the fundamental unit of the living organism, whereas atom is everything, right? So everything that we see around us is of course have made up of the atoms altogether. So that's a major difference between. Yes? Very good. Yes. Nerve cells are also called as neurons. Absolutely correct. Ribosomes are those small tiny structures that are present in the cytoplasm and on the ER. They help in the protein synthesis. Very good. So we have this information, right? So now you can take a screenshot of this. So over here we have the whole mind map, right? And you can take a screenshot of it. And we have this interesting question, and we'll be finishing our session really very soon. The cell having well-organized nucleus with a nuclear membrane is termed as what? Think about it. Yes, Bhairav, Yes, Garva, yes, they are, you know, yes, the cell is also made up of different types of atoms altogether. We have different types of molecules. Yes, I can see the answers, and the correct answer is eukaryotes. Very good. So, eukaryotes are the ones that have well organized nucleus with a nuclear membrane. Now, over here we have the summary. Again, you can take a screenshot of it. I'll just move ahead over here. So, we have the summary. In today's class, we have discussed about that how the cell, we know that it's a basic structure and the functional unit of the life, right? Robert Hooke discovered this cell in the year 1665, right? We discussed about the cell membrane, which is, or the plasma membrane, which is the outer membrane that separates the out material and from the inside material, right? Cell. Yes, basically it's just provide the separation between the cell, inside material, and the outside material. We have discussed about the cell wall, that is the outermost membrane in the plant cells. Yes? Yes? Yes, Chandra, what you didn't understand? Yes, please write. Then we have discussed about the different types of other cell organelles. We have nucleus, vacuole, and chloroplast. Okay, I can see some of you have asked. Oh, wait, I'll just go back to this. Right, you can take a screenshot of it. Here you go. And of course, then we have discussed about it. I'll just go back there. We have the prokaryotes and the eukaryotic cells, and of course, we have discussed about the unicellular and the multicellular organisms altogether. Yes. Now, let me just go back to the summary slide right over here. You can take a screenshot of it. Now, let me answer a few questions. Yes. Very good. Robert Hooke. Ma'am, did the Robert Hooke discover all different types of cells? No. He actually saw the dead cell first. Kavita, that's the answer to your question. Right? He saw from the bark, cork cells, basically. Yes, RBC contained the hemoglobin. Robert Hooke called it as a cell because it looked like a small prison cell, right, where they'll be keeping the prisoners. Yes. I have answered your questions. Yes, why it is named as cell, I have answered that. Rough, Gavant, it's the rough endoplasmic reticulum. How many types of plastids there are? So basically when we talk about it, we have different types. Majorly we talk about the 3 different types of plastids. Yes, very good. I think I have answered all your questions. Gauri, that I don't know. Yes, I think we are done. I hope that all of your doubts are clear. Right, if you have any doubts, you can come back to the session, right, and of course you can play it again and you will be able to see this. Yes, and if you have any other doubts, you can write in the chat box, in the comment section below, right? Once the video is done, we'll be able to answer all your doubts. Now I have to leave. There is another session, so time crunch. We'll be meeting next time. We'll be having classes regularly for 8th, 9th and 10th, right? So amazing things are being planned for you, so you just have to wait. Finally, we are there with the 8th class, and of course, next time when we will be meeting, we'll be talking more about it. Take care of yourself, everyone. Bye-bye. Lots of love, everyone. Next session में आ जाएंगे सौरभ sir, Umar. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. I hope that you have enjoyed the session. Yes? Great. You will get the update for the next session. You have to subscribe to the channel, right? You will get the notification. Hit the bell icon and do hit the like video. Thank you so much for coming here and learning with us. Lots of love. Bye-bye.